All right, the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode 52 now. Here we are, and this is the 2023 NBA Draft wrap-up, and wow, so what a night. I really, I watched the whole thing. I think I was flipping in and out of consciousness the last couple picks. I don't actually remember watching Trayce Jackson-Davis get drafted 57th. And I remember seeing the Bucks logo come up for 58 and thinking, oh, we're on the last pick. And then I remember waking up to a time ride set so I didn't fall asleep downstairs in the recliner. So that was like a half hour after the draft, and I remember waking up to my dog, Victor Wembanyama's voice, because he was being interviewed by Scott Van Pelt after the draft. So my guy was all over the television. It was actually insane. Anybody who watched draft coverage, the things they were saying about Victor is, I watched the 2017 draft. The Lonzo Ball was hype. The Lonzo hype was crazy. The Zion hype was insane. I remember watching the 2019 NBA draft. I said to who I was watching it with, I was like, watch this for the pre-draft highlights. I'm like, let's count how many times they show Zion and how often they show everybody else. And they had like one Ja highlight, one RJ, one of somebody else, and then they had like 6 Zion highlights for the 2019 NBA draft thing. So that was very funny to me when that happened. And the Victor hype has got to be the highest I've ever seen. Like, they were talking, Jay Billis in the before the draft's going on, they're talking about Victor, and he's like, he basically was like, yeah, barring injuries, he's going to have a legendary career. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this hype is insane. Like, absolutely insane. So I tweeted out, I was like, Scoot Victor about to be the new Hakeem MJ. And then I realized that would mean that Scoot would be better than Victor. So then I had to fix it. And I said, no, it'll be the new LeBron Melo / D Wade, which would mean Vic will be LeBron to Scoot's Dwayne Wade / Melo. I don't know which one will be, but I'd prefer that because that means Vic would be better all time. But I have really high expectations for Scoot, and I'm telling you guys, I know it sounds like it sounds like too perfect, like a movie. What I talked about with the Blazers having the 3 pick and him falling to them, and it just, I don't know, it feels like the fates are aligning for Scoot Henderson to go on to like a legendary career. There's something about this draft, like, maybe we'll be looking back on this pod, 3 years from now and be like, really? Ryan hyped up Scoot Henderson that much, and Victor's the only guy from this class that ever did anything. But like, I'm looking at this class, I'm like, I think both the Thompson twins are going to be legit. I like Koulibaly. I'm a big Grady Dick fan, like, honestly. I actually think he's got a lot to offer for teams. Jet Howard going to the Magic, didn't see that coming, but that was interesting. I like Taylor Hendricks. He was the only pick other than the top 4 I got right. Jaime Jaquez Jr. going to the Heat. He'll fit in well there. I think I've talked before about how much I like Cam Whitmore. I'm interested to see what he does with the Rockets. Even guys that went in the second round, like, I like James Njaj. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. I think he's got something interesting. Colby Jones of the Hornets late. That's interesting. My dog, Jordan Walsh, is going to the Celtics. My guy, Keontae Johnson, got drafted. Imani Bates to the Cavs at pick 49. If you would have told me 3 years ago the Cavs got Imani Bates, I'd be like, what? They had the number 1 pick? We got him at 49th. That'd be interesting to see if that works out. That'd be crazy. If he's like the piece that clicks and we magically fix him, that'd be wild. Put him back to like the hype that was around him originally. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else interesting here in the second round I really care that much about. Jalen Clark's got something to him. Trayce Jackson-Davis tweeted out, y'all regret this after being picked second to last. I'm not a big Trayce Jackson-Davis fan, so, he's just a guy who goes out and scores, which, you need in basketball, but I don't know if his game's really going to translate the best to the league. We'll see. But yeah, I have really high expectations for this draft. Granted, you are talking to a guy that thought Denny Avdija was going to be like an absolute stud. So I'm not always the best draft evaluator. I mean, Danny Avdija's fine, but he's not like I thought he was going to be like a weaker Luka. Like I figured like at this point he'd be like nearing like I think he'd be an all-star at this point. Like he's going into what? Is this his third season? Yeah, his third season in the league. And Danny Avdija, I don't even know if he averages double digits for the Wizards. So, maybe he'll be the one that leads this rebuild to the promised land. Danny Avdija. But for those keeping track at home, for my mock, I had the first 4 picks right, which in all the years I've done mock drafts, even before I did them like on the pod, I would do them myself. I'd gotten the first 3 picks right, but I'd never, ever gotten the 4th pick right. Because in 2019, who's the 4 pick that year? Oh, crap. Who's the 4 pick in the 2019 NBA draft? Oh, man. I just can't remember. Pick 4. DeAndre Hunter. Yeah, I did not expect them to take him that early. And then in 2020, it's Patrick Williams, isn't it? Yeah, no one saw that coming. And then 2021, it was Scotty Barnes. Didn't expect him to go that high. It was for sure that'd be Jalen Suggs. Like, absolutely for certain. And then, 2022, I thought Jaden Ivey would be 4th, and it was Keegan Murray. So, yeah, this year, I actually did get it right. It was Amen Thompson. I said Amen because it's just usually the way I pronounce it. But since it's his name, it's like you have to say Amen, right? Even though I usually pronounce the word Amen. Whatever. So, I got the first 4 right. Victor, well, I guess here's what we'll do. I think I'm going to run through, talk about each pick, and then if I don't have much to say, I don't have much to say, and we move on. So, first pick, obviously, Victor Wembanyama. I've talked about him a lot. I have exceptionally high expectations. I tweeted out that, okay, so the way the Suns have traded, they don't have a draft pick till 2031. And I tweeted that the next time the Suns make a draft pick, Victor Wembanyama will have an NBA championship. So I'm basically saying in the next 8 years, I expect Vic to win a chip. And I actually kind of can see that happening. I mean, the hype's insane. My sister's boyfriend and I were texting about him. He's pretty hyped for him, too. I actually have ordered my shirt. I couldn't decide to go black or white. I ended up going white because I don't usually wear white. And I was like, you know what? I have a lot of black stuff from the Bucks. So for the Spurs, my first Spurs shirt, I'm going to go white because, why not spice up my closet? I hardly ever wear white. So, spicing it up for my dog Wemby. But that Summer League game is going to break, like, Summer League TV records whenever he plays. So I'm really excited for Wemby. I don't know, like the hype's insane, and Shuzi's 7'5". It makes him already like the 6th tallest player in league history. It's everything they show. Just there's not going to be a prospect this hyped for at least 10 years, maybe 20. Like it's insane. So, I don't even know what else to say. I mean, there is nothing else I can say at this point. I've talked about him so much. I mean, I've already declared him my 3rd favorite player in the league, and he hasn't even stepped on a basketball court yet. I mean, I said he was my 3rd favorite player in the league before he was even drafted. That's how hyped up I am for him. So, super excited to see what he does. I'm expecting San Antonio to at least be a play-in team. He should, run away with Rookie of the Year. People should be like, oh, well, what about Scoot? Because I expect big things from Scoot. We're going to talk about Scoot and Brandon Miller here in a moment. But, yeah, everything with Victor, he fits the Spurs perfectly. I watched a lot of his interviews during the draft. He seems like a great guy. He got a great personality. He cried when he got drafted, and I was like, I don't know. He seemed very emotional, which is wild for a guy that, he knew this was coming, and yet it still, like, meant that much to him. And he was talking about, how he wants to be great and all this stuff. I'm like, he seems to have both the personality and obviously the physicality to be an all-time great. So I'm expecting huge things. I know everybody is, and I can't wait. I'm super excited. So I'm expecting big things from Wemby. Like, I'm expecting things. That's why, like, his first year in the league, I expect them to make the playoffs because I'm like a really hyped up rookie, like somebody who was like pretty hyped up, who's pretty hyped up. I don't want to do Zion because I was talking about him earlier. Like Derrick Rose, right? When Derrick Rose really hyped up to go to the Bulls. you're expecting him to win Rookie of the Year and for them to, be significantly better than last year. Maybe make the playoffs, but make a significant jump. With Wemby, the hype is so insane that to me it's like if they don't make the playoffs, like the plan should be a lock. Because I'm expecting something we haven't seen really since LeBron. So, he's got to do something special, and I think he's up to the task. I hope I'm not hyping him up too much. I have a lot of faith in this kid. So, I say this kid, he's about 6 months older than me. So, him and I could be contemporaries. All right. Yeah, so super excited for Victor. I'm going to name the pod episode after him. I haven't decided. I think I'm going to name it like He's Arrived or He's Here. I'm not sure, but I'm very excited for Wemby and everything to follow in his career. It's a big moment for me. I'm not even a Spurs fan. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a Spurs fan, and that'd be insane to be a Spurs fan and be gifted this. I also think the Spurs are the perfect organization for him. Like, I look at all these teams. I look at every team in the top 10. Like, the Mavericks would have been weird because it's like him and Luka together. It's just like so much hype around that team would be insane. The Jazz would have felt wrong, like really putting the next legend in Utah. Sorry, all the Jazz fans. It just ain't right. Wizards would have felt terrible. I'm like, no. They have such icky jerseys. Their jerseys are whack. They need to rebrand the whole team. And, him going there would be gross. The Pacers would just feel wrong. Like, it'd be a good team. But, like, as someone who even lives in Ohio, like, no one cares about the Pacers. Maybe there are people in Indiana that care about them. But, like, I'm pretty close to Indiana. Nobody cares about the Pacers. So, that's coming from a guy who owned a Paul George Pacers shirt for a minute there when I was younger. The Magic wouldn't have felt right because it's like, no, it's Paolo's team. That's weird. Pistons would have felt so wrong. Like, even as a guy who likes the Pistons, it would have just felt wrong. Rockets, maybe, but even then it's like this was supposed to be, I don't know whose team that is. Maybe, I don't know. There's something special about the Spurs where they have zero identity other than the fact that they were a legendary team just a little less than 10 years ago. And so him going there and him just reinvigorating that feeling that they're just going to be around, it's like the mantle being passed down from Robinson to Duncan to him. It just, chef's kiss. It actually feels too good to be true. If the NBA rigs the lottery, excellent rigging. Like, excellent. Because this is the team that I think fits best. Because they have no identity. Like, it feels like the Rockets kind of have, like, an identity with Green and Jabari and Sengun. And the Hornets have the LaMelo Ball identity. Like, all these other teams feel like they have something. If I told anybody that, like, even some guys that watch NBA to name 3 San Antonio Spurs, I don't know if they'd get past 1. Like, some guys might know Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. They're like, Tyus Jones? I'm like, no, it's Trey Jones. Actually, no one's going to know Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell. I think they'd just be like, yeah, I don't know. Is Jakob Poeltl still there? I'd be like, no. So, Also, the Spurs traded away their second-round pick, which kind of upset me, but it's whatever. I wanted them to get some more young guys. Some guys do know Jeremy Sohan, I should say. Sohan is like their most well-known player. And he's just committed to being like Wemby's homie. And, that's sweet. That's a good role to have. You're going to be with that team forever if you just decide you're best friends. If you become best friends with Wemby, you got a guaranteed life contract with the Spurs. So good work on Sohan. I don't think he's obviously not becoming best friends with Wemby for the money. But I do think it's funny. I'm like, well, he's going to be a career Spur now, as long as he wants to be. So, yeah, Wemby. Oh, okay, here's the craziest quote I heard. It was, like, during, like, one of the, like, draft hype tapes they show. And somebody said, with this number 1 pick, you can go from irrelevant to set for the next 20 years. And I was like, wow, that's actually... Like, he's right, but that's an insane way to put it when you look at it big picture like that. Like, you go from just, being a team that didn't have much going on to for the next 20 years, you're going to have a guy that, was expected to go down as one of the best players ever. Like, that is legit the hype around him. Like, anything short of being considered top 10 all time is kind of a disappointment for Victor, which I think it's just a lot of pressure for a kid, Like I said, he's not that much older than me. I'm putting a lot of pressure on him. The whole world is putting a lot of pressure on him, and he seems ready, so I give him a lot of credit. All right, I said like 10 minutes ago I had nothing more to say about Victor because I've said everything, but then I kept talking. All right, so then we get to what I predicted, which is Brandon Miller going to the Hornets and Scoot Henderson going to the Blazers. It feels like they're tied together. It felt like the whole world believed that Scoot Henderson should go to the Hornets. I mean, I used my metaphor yesterday about what it felt like. And I felt like that watching the draft. I was like, it just feels like it should be Scoot. Scoot seems better than Brandon Miller. Like, I think Brandon Miller's like gets buckets, not gonna lie. But Scoot it seems to be a higher ceiling, and I think Scoot's got a great personality and what he can bring to a team. Also learned about his sister being an absolute hooper. That's cool. I think it said she was committed to Georgia, so that's cool. Everything goes on to Scoot. And there it went. Brandon Miller was second to the Hornets. And I just feel like we're going to look back at this, and I have insane expectations for Scoot Henderson. I likened him to Michael Jordan, so, I mean, that's kind of really high praise. But maybe it's a little too high praise. But I'm saying I think Scoot is set to do great things in the league. Like, I really think he's going to be a special player. And the Hornets passing up on him just feels like it's going to go down as a legendary mistake. Now, what am I going off of? Gut. I'm truly just going off my gut. But that's my gut reaction. I feel like we're going to look back here and maybe even a year and be like, wow, that was a mess up. And then 10 years, we're going to look back and we're going to be like, wow, Scoot's an MVP level talent and Brandon Miller is a solid player. That's just how I feel. So we'll see. But, it seemed to be on Twitter that a lot of Hornets fans agreed with that thought process. Now, Scoot Henderson on the Blazers. I don't know what they're going to do with Dame. I don't know what's going to go on here, but I think Scoot's the new franchise guy for the Blazers. If Dame's traded, he's going to lead that team. If Dame's not traded, this brings a really interesting thing that we haven't seen in a while, where it's, a top 5 draft pick paired with a top 5 player at his position. I don't think Dame's not top 5 in the league, but maybe a top 5 point guard in the league. Dame's obviously uber talented. And I don't know, if you're the Blazers, if you plan on trading Dame, you should right now. This is the highest his value is going to be. It's only going to decline after this point. If you're committed to keeping him and he's committed to staying, this is interesting because now you've got Scoot and him as a duo. It's like, how far can this team go with these two guys together? And I think that'll be really interesting to see what goes on here. Haven't seen anything like this. I really can't remember last time something like this happened. And especially with how, good I think Scoot can be. I think this could be really interesting, like what the Blazers could do with Scoot and Dame. It's going to be really interesting to see what goes on with this team. So I'm very intrigued. Very intrigued. But I have nothing but praise for Scoot. That's why I'm running him as the video image and then Victor as the thumbnail because I'm obviously more excited for Victor. If Wemby didn't exist, I'd probably just be a Scoot Henderson stan. I'd be like, yeah, for the rest of his career I'm following Scoot. But I'm more committed to Victor. But I think Scoot's going to be really special in the league. Like, I think we're going to look back and be like, wow, those two guys were drafted in the same draft. That's crazy. Now let's talk about some other guys that initially I wasn't as high on. Asar Thompson, Amen's brother. So Amen went to the Rockets. Like everything going on there. They're both 6'7". Apparently Asar's 205 pounds and Amen is 200 pounds. So I don't know if that 5 pounds make a huge difference, but Amen went to the Rockets, and then Asar went right after the Pistons. It was really cool how the Twins got drafted one after another. So Amen, it seemed to be when they talked about it on draft night, they were the way I can't remember her name on ESPN put it was she was basically saying she's like Amen is more of your shooter, and Asar is more of your you can do everything guy. He doesn't do one thing exceptionally, but he's master of none type thing. He's jack of all trades, master of none. That's kind of how Asar is, and Amen is more of your catch and shoot, a little bit of facilitation guy. I think that's the way she described it. Now, I might have accidentally said these guys were on the G League team. I didn't even realize they were on Overtime Elite. I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize they were Overtime Elite guys. I'm not going to lie. So if I said yesterday they were G League Ignite, my bad. I just didn't think about it. I'm not going to lie. I was just like, oh, yeah, they're probably G League Ignite because they didn't go to college and they were Overtime Elite. So I didn't realize that's what they were doing. I forget who it was. Was it Rob Perez? He tweeted, just 10 years ago. I think it wasn't even 10 years ago. He's like 8 years ago, Overtime was a video filter app, and now they had two players from them go on to get drafted. And I'm like, yeah, that actually is crazy when you think about it. So, yeah, so Amen and Ausar. Let me look at this. Yeah, he's more the ball handler and playmaker. Amen. Okay. And Ausar is more. Yeah. So it was basically she was saying Amen's more the facilitator, and Ausar is more the do everything guy. That's what it was. I couldn't remember exactly what they said Amen was best at. But if the Rockets are running with Amen, Jalen Green, my guy Cam Whitmore, Jabari, and Alperen Sengun, that's our starting lineup. Super young lineup. I like what the Rockets got going on. I tweeted that. I was like, I think the Rockets have something interesting brewing. Okay, a lot of this hinges on Jalen Green, in my opinion, because I like Jabari Smith. I don't think he's going to be the best player on the Rockets, scoring-wise. I think, if the Rockets are really going to be really good, Jalen Green has to be a much more efficient and a strong scorer. I expect big things from Jalen Green. So, going into his third season, Jalen Green's got to fix it up. I think that is the key to the Rockets being a legit team. But there's a legit path here where the Mavericks, even though they got Luka and Kyrie, within the next couple years become the worst team in Texas. Because I expect big things from the Spurs of Wemby. I think the Rockets got a really interesting young group here. So if Jalen Green can be the guy, if he was the guy I thought he was going to be when he got drafted, they'd be really legit, because I expected him to just move into essentially doing what James Harden used to do in the Rockets, to just go out there and score and, lead the team. And that's what I expected Jalen Green to do. If he can start doing that, this team's going to be very, very interesting. So, all right, Ausar to the Pistons. This is the first pick I got wrong, and then after this, I only got one more pick right, and I got the rest wrong. So I went 5 for 30 on my draft picks. So some of the worst I've done late, but also the best I've done early. Never have I gotten, like I said, the first 4 right, but I've also never done so bad I only got one after the that was okay. So Ausar to the Pistons. At first, I'm kind of like, I liked Whitmore there, but then after the Whitmore drop, I'm like, okay, maybe Ausar was the move, because I feel like if the Pistons didn't take Ausar, then the Magic would have. So I think Ausar has a lot to offer. I like Amen, what I saw from him. So, I've only really watched highlights of these guys. I haven't watched film where it's makes and misses. But I think Asar's got something interesting to him, and the Pistons got a lot of young guys right now. They're essentially the East Rockets. Dom2K tweeted out that 2028 Rockets-Pistons final is going to be cinema, because it's the two twins going against each other. Also, it's the Pistons-Rockets rivalry is actually crazy, because you got the Cade versus Jalen thing, because that was kind of a thing in Summer League, if you guys remember, 2 years ago. And then, oh crap, there was 4 different reasons. I only remember that the twins and the Cade and Jalen thing, but there was 2 other reasons that made it kind of a rivalry, and I was like, oh, that could be interesting down the line. For years I said the Pistons are going to win the 2024 title. I don't think that's in the cards. I really don't. But maybe the Pistons start getting it together, and by 2028 in that range, the Pistons are cooking. And I think that'd probably be about the time the Rockets start cooking. I do expect both of those teams to not be in the top 5 of the draft next year. To me, if these Pistons or the Rockets, either of these teams are selecting in the top 5 next year, that is a fail. To me, they should not be happening. These teams need to be better next year. I would almost say that for the Magic too, to be honest, because I think the Magic had a good draft, and I like Paulo a lot, and I expect them to be better next year. And I like Wagner. So, honestly, I'd say that for the Spurs, too. Like I said, the Spurs should not be selecting this high again. Like, they should not be in the top 5. Really shouldn't even be in the lottery. That's my hope for what Victor can do with this team. And then the Blazers, if they keep Dame, they shouldn't be up here again. Really, it's like I don't expect the Hornets to be significantly better next year. Expect the Wizards to be worse. Yeah, the Wizards are just going to get whoever they want next year, probably. They're going to be in the top 3 draft picks. So, not sure. There's always a team that gets comes out of nowhere to be bad. So, maybe it'll be the Hawks next year. Like the Hawks will be selecting top in the draft. They moved off Trae Young or something crazy. Who knows? But yeah, there's a lot of teams in here that I'm like, this should be the last times we see them selecting this high. But, sometimes things don't go to plan. Maybe my Pistons just don't do well next year, or the Rockets don't do well either. I kind of like what the Rockets got brewing. I'm going to say it again. All right. On to the Magic. So, for those of you that saw the NBA Twitter memes going around, that once the Magic got this guy, Anthony Black, it's like, okay, go get Grady Dick. And, the Magic could have had Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, and Grady Dick. And for those of you that don't get the joke, just think about their jerseys being lined up. Other than that, I like the pick here. I didn't have them taking Anthony Black. I thought he'd go to the Wizards. I saw a lot of mocks having them take Anthony Black. Really, a lot of mocks had this first 6 right. I was different because I had the Pistons taking Cam Whitmore. But a lot of mocks I read had the first 6 picks completely correct. So, I could have had more right. I really could have. But, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Anthony Black does here with the Magic. Like I said, I really like what the Magic got brewing. I don't think he's, going to be anything crazy for them, but I think he'll be a good player. I think he'll be solid. So, all right, then I had the Pacers taking Jarris Walker, which he did end up going there after they traded back to the 8th spot, and the Wizards traded up to the 7th spot to take Bilal Coulibaly, which I did not expect the Wizards to go. To me, that's wild. The Wizards taking more of I guess it makes sense, taking more of a big swing when you got nothing to lose. So you might as well take a big swing and get Coulibaly and take somebody that's a little more of a risk because, why not? You got nothing to lose. You're going to be really bad next year. So we'll see how this works out for the Wizards. I think it's an interesting pick. They like to take some interesting picks. I'd like to look up, honestly, the last couple years of Wizards drafting because Johnny Davis was such a boring pick. Was that last year? I think that was last year. Yeah, I think Johnny Davis they took last year. But it was interesting they took Avdija. I really liked that when they got him. I was like, oh, he's good. He's been all right. So, yeah, Coulibaly, I think it'll be interesting to see who does the Wizards. They obviously aren't the best developmental organization. So, it's like my mother was asking me, what's the most important thing with a player being drafted? I'm like, a lot of it is usually the player's own mentality and, usually the situation they go to. Because if you go to the Nuggets or the Heat, it's going to be very different than if you get drafted to, the Wizards. It's just the reality. All right. Now, granted, some guys like Victor, it doesn't really matter exactly where he goes. He's going to be great, but there's certain teams that would make him better than others. And I think the Spurs are the best for him. Got Popovich. And Tim Duncan's coming to help. Oh, it's so perfect. All right. Jazz got Taylor Hendricks. Really like this fit. Really like this pick. That's what I predicted. Very happy with that. Then the Mavericks made a trade with OKC. So the Mavericks ended up with the 12th pick. They took Derek Lively the second, which is what I expected them to do. But they traded back, which I didn't predict, so I'm wrong. And the OKC Thunder got... Oh, no, whoa. I didn't expect them to take Derek Lively a second. I had them taking Coulibaly and Derek Lively going to Magic. So no matter what, I'm wrong. And Cason Wallace ended up going to the Thunder. I had Cason Wallace going significantly... Not too significantly later. 16. I had him going 6 picks later. I never bet against the Thunder at this point. They know better than me. So, there's some teams I feel like I know better than, which sounds really, really self-assuring. And That's true. It is pretty self-sharing. But it makes me think about like when Harry met Sally, and she's like, you're very self-assured, and he goes, I tell myself that every day. That's funny. All right. Um, yeah, the Thunder, I don't know better than. They know more than me, and taking Case and Wallace. Seems like these Kentucky guys end up cooking, so makes sense to me. Magic took Jet Howard. That's higher than I thought he'd go. I think, they want to get some. They got, now they took 2 guards in the draft, so maybe they're going to move off Markelle. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see what he does. He's a little more. I actually like him almost more than Anthony Black, but we'll see what goes on. Juwan Howard's son, I didn't even realize that till the draft went on. I was like, oh, how did I not notice that? Also, he's 6'8". He's a pretty big guard. All right. Raptors. Oh, yeah, the Mavericks got Derek Lively second. Luka's going to lob it to him. That'll be nice. All right, the Raptors got Grady Dick. Really sad Grady Dick didn't go to a team that I kind of pseudo-like. I mean, nothing against the Raptors. The Raptors continue to define themselves by being the team full of really, quality players, but no, superstar. And that is what Grady Dick is perfectly. He fits in that team perfectly. The Raptors, if, I'm saying, the Raptors are the best, if the Toronto Raptors were, if you had a great player with the Raptors, oh my gosh, they would cook. But they don't have, if Giannis gets put on the Raptors, that team's really good. Even if it doesn't even fit the best, I'm just saying, a really quality player, a superstar level player on the Raptors would be so good. But, So Grady Dick fits in perfectly there. Pelicans got Jordan Hawkins. I like Jordan Hawkins a lot. I'm high on him. I think he's going to do well wherever he goes, and that's a nice pick for the Pelicans. I liked that. Kobe Buffkin going to the Hawks. I had them taking Jalen Hood-Schifino. He ended up going to the Lakers 2 picks later. So I was a little surprised by this. But Kobe Buffkin wasn't really talked about that much. And then, draft workouts started going on, and then it was like, oh, this guy might go in the lottery. So, went right outside the lottery. All right, 16th pick, Keontae George, the Jazz. I don't know, he's on the Jazz. We'll have to see what he does. I mean, Keontae, I could see Keontae. Oh, actually, it's not Keontae. It's pronounced differently. I can't remember how to pronounce it. How embarrassing. But regardless, I could see him being, I was kind of like Davion Mitchell to me, where it's when he was drafted, I'm like, yeah, you'll either just be a bench player guard that gets some buckets, or you'll be something really special. There's no in between. And it's kind of how I feel about him. Lakers got Schifino. We'll see. I mean, who would have thought, Austin Reeves would cook that much in the Lakers? So we'll see what Hood Schifino can do. Jaime Jaquez Jr., this guy fits perfectly with the Heat. I mean, I had him go to the Nuggets for, similar reasons. It seems like he could pop in a contender and do well, and that is what the Heat are doing. They're getting him. Makes a lot of sense. He seems got that dog mentality in him, and that's exactly what the Heat want. He'll probably play really well for the Heat, not going to lie. The Warriors took Brandon Podziemski, I think, from Santa Clara. This guy said he went to military school, so, I already started feeling sympathy for the kid because, that doesn't sound like he had a lot of fun in his life, and now he gets to go play for the Warriors. I'm not sure if really, if I was getting drafted and they're like, you're going to the Warriors, I'm not sure if I'd really be excited. It just feels like there'd be a lot of set pressure there, and it's I don't know if that'd really be a fun team to go to. I don't know. I'm just saying. If I got drafted, I don't think, to me, the Warriors and the Suns would just be teams I wouldn't really care to go to. I'd be I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to hang out with Kevin Durant after the games. Steph's probably really nice, but it's every other dude there is probably locked into, we got to win some games, all right? And, they would probably be, really overly serious, and Steph's oh, you're good, man. Don't worry about that brick. You're okay. Everybody else is, pissed. That's how I feel playing for the Warriors would be like. If I got drafted, I wouldn't be eligible till next year's draft. Who would I want to be with? Who'd be cool? Honestly, not even gonna lie. I feel like who would just be cool about it? Honestly, who would be cool? The Thunder. The Thunder would be the most fun, easily, because they want to win, but they're not like they're chill about it, and that's what I would want. Because like I'd be pissed if I went to like the Hornets and I'm like, you guys are just screwing around. You're not even trying to win games. You just want to make yourselves look cool. Whereas the Thunder are the coolest young team, hands down, because it's like they lock in and want to win and overachieve. And a lot of young teams are just kind of like out there going through like as much as I like want to believe in the Pistons, they don't seem as locked in as the Thunder. Like Shea somehow locks in every guy who goes to the Thunder, every single guy. It's like Thunder culture. It's like the young version of Heat culture. He just gets all these guys to lock in and play their hearts out. So, Case and Wallace is probably going to cook up on the Thunder because they're the Thunder, and everybody just locks in. So, all right, that's enough of me going on about the Thunder. I low-key love what they got going on. It's funny. It's just like years ago, I was not that high on Sam Presti and the Thunder. I was like, the idea of just stacking all these picks and just hoping it clicks one day ain't going to work. And the guy who made it work was Shea because he was just like, we're going to try to win games and we got a ton of picks. We're just going to cook everybody. And I'm like, oh, hold up. They got something. So now I'm like a big Thunder fan because I thought they were just going to try to be bad for a while and then magically be good once they got all these picks. And then this year it proved like, no, we can win games because we have other people's picks. So it doesn't really matter if our pick's that good. Plus, we're so good at drafting. It doesn't matter if we're at the 14 pick or they were at the 12 this year. And we can just trade because we have all these picks stacked up. We can do literally whatever we want. And that's what the Thunder are doing. And I'm blown away. I'm like, yeah. I went from being like a Thunder hater to like one of their number one praisers. I love what they got going on. I'm serious. Next year, I forgot about this. Rookie of the Year is going to be in between Victor, Chet, and Scoot. That'll be like the top three guys. That's actually crazy. So I think Victor will win, but Chet's going to make an interesting case because the Thunder are going to be a really good team next year, and I think Chet is going to be really good for them. And so I think there will be some people that are like, are we sure it's not Chet? It's like, no, it's Victor. But that's interesting, the fact that Chet, I think Chet's going to be really good on the Thunder. So, all right, Cam Whitmore, my dog, he ended up going to the Rockets. Like the pick here. Like I said, like what the Rockets got going on. The Nets took Dariq Whitehead and Noah Clowney. And I like Noah Clowney from Alabama. I think he'll be really solid for them. I think Dariq, has got a lot more he can develop from. I had him going to the Kings one pick later. No, not one pick later, 2 picks later. So he's a little more developmental, whereas Noah Clowney is just going to step up and be good from the jump. The Blazers got Chris Murray. Did not expect them to be the team that takes Chris Murray. I had him going to the Pacers. So we'll see. Obviously, his brother is good, Keegan. So 1 pick away from being on the Kings. But then, they ended up trading with the Mavericks, so maybe he wouldn't have been there anyway. But I think Chris Murray is a quality guy who could slide into a team that wants to compete. So if the Blazers are going to try to compete next year, I think Chris Murray could be a big part of that. I think he could be good. Kind of like a way worse Franz Wagner type role. Nothing against Chris Murray. Just he's not Franz Wagner. Maybe he could be. All right, Sacramento Kings. They took Olivier Maxence Prosper. I should have listened to how they pronounced this last night. For Marquette. Had him going to the Celtics at 25. He ended up getting picked at 24 and traded to the Mavericks. I believe he's a good fit for a team that wants to compete, so that made sense. Marcus Sasser, he's going to my boys in the Pistons. The Grizzlies took him 25th. I'll have to see what happens with him. I remember him at Houston. See what he has to offer. Don't have much to say about him. Pacers took Ben Shepherd. This guy wasn't even on my radar for a first-round pick. The Hornets got Nick Smith Jr. I would be higher on him, but he got drafted to the Hornets, and I have no faith. Bryce Sensabaugh on the Jazz will probably be pretty solid. I like him. I thought that was a nice pick at 28 to be able to get him from Ohio State. So, yeah, that was a good move. I just know the league is getting taller because all these guys listed as guards. Anybody under 6'8" is like a guard/forward. The only guy I've seen that's a pure forward Like, okay, there's a couple guys that are forwards that are like 6'6", 6'8", but there's a lot of guys that's like guard and they're like 6'7", or like guard forward and they're 6'9". Like, it's crazy. Like Bryce Sensabaugh, guard 6'6". Like, it's a pretty big guard. Just wow. All right. Pacers took Julian Strawther, I think is what it was. He got traded to the Nuggets. He's from Gonzaga. This guy will probably be good because he's going to the Nuggets. That's just my honest opinion. And then Kobe Brown ended up going to the Clippers. He's from Missouri. I don't know much about this guy, and he'll probably get some buckets on the Clippers, but the Clippers aren't very good. All right, now it's for what everybody's been waiting for, which is my second-round pick to be added to the Nikola Jokic draft all-star team. Full of second-round picks, except for last year. It was Nikola Jovic who was added, who was not a second-round pick, but I don't care. I make the rules. You don't, and I'm going to keep it like that. So the second I remember, it really comes down to 3 guys. I like Jordan Walsh a lot, and he got drafted 38th from Arkansas. He's got alopecia. Really liked him in college. He got traded to Boston. I think he's going to put in some quality minutes for the Celtics. I honestly think he's going to do well there. Then there's Emoni Bates. Super hyped up. Super duper hyped up. Guard, 6'9". If he can get it together, can he still be a special player? Maybe. Who knows? I kind of do have faith in the Cavaliers' developmental staff. I would really like for Emoni Bates to be really good there. Like, that'd be cool. But in the same sense, I'm going to be following this guy no matter what because he's on the Cavs. So I don't know if I'm going to put him on the team because it's like then if it doesn't pan out, I really only put him on the team because he's a Cavs guy, to be perfectly honest. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool. He was super hyped up. But if it doesn't work out, then I look back years later and I'm like, okay, well, I really didn't actually think he was going to be that good. I just picked him because, he was going to the Cavs and he used to be hyped up. Instead of taking somebody who I truly think is going to be really solid and I really like and I'm excited to watch. And that is the guy who selected right after Emoni Bates, the 50th pick, Keontae Johnson from Kansas State, baby. Woo! All right, I messed up on Keontae Johnson. I told you all that he had his heart attack situation when he was playing for Louisville, and that is just frankly not true. He was not playing at Louisville. I got completely confused. He played at Florida, and then he transferred to Kansas State. So that's where that was. He got drafted to the Thunder, 50th pick. I love the fit there in Oklahoma City. He's going to fit in excellently there. I really like Keontae Johnson. I really think he's going to be a quality player for them, and I think he'll be fun to watch. So he's going to be the 2023 member of the Ryan Klinger Nikola Jokic team. I'm going to put up a picture right now that is him and Nikola Jovic. Jokic would be the head coach of this team. So that's how that would work, which I feel like Jokic would be an excellent coach. So, yeah, I think Keontae Johnson's going to be special. Not special like all-star, but like you'll look back and be like, man, that was a steal. Kind of like Lou Dort. Was Lou Dort even drafted? I think Lou Dort was undrafted. Lou Dort. Yeah, where was he from? Luguentz Dort. Yeah, he was undrafted. What a dog. Gotta love Lou Dort. All right, so overall, really excited for Scoot, see what he's got to do. Victor, obviously, the hype's insane. Everybody's hyping him up, me included. And, yeah, this is kind of the start of next season, I guess. We're going to move into another Hood Classic season, 2024 season. So I can't wait. And I think it's going to be just as good as last year. Can it top it? Maybe. Can we see that Thunder Nuggets Western Conference Finals? Please. I might just have to predict it because none of you can stop me. I might have to do that. Like, who's going to stop me from predicting that? Nobody. Literally nobody. So, might have to predict that for the Western Conference Finals because sometimes the NBA just plays out the way I want it to. And then other times the Cavs get swept by the Knicks in the first round. So, dang it. All right, I think that's it for this episode. Next time you see me, probably be talking about some Tarantino movies, probably some baseball, This last me talking about NBA for a couple months. Well, I might touch on some trades, free agency. So my bad. But we'll have to see what goes on. Dame gonna get traded. That's what's gonna happen. Is like I'm gonna be like, all right, see you on the next one, and then I'm gonna record the next one and be like, all right, Damian Lillard's been traded to the Heat, and it'll be crazy. All right, well, it's been real, but I'm out.